Well, good morning. Here we are at the end of another week, and I trust that the week was good. I pray with all my heart that my wife and I pray every day that these daily devotionals will be a source of encouragement and strength to you. And as I hear back from many of you, I tell you, it's really gratifying to me because I kind of feel like we can have this kind of quiet, private conversation. But as a pastor, I think that the one thing you want more than anything else is to make a difference in people's lives, that somehow what you do is going to help people find the joy of the Lord, find the power of the Lord, find the victory in their own day-to-day life. And so I just want to let you know that's what kind of pushes me forward, because as the Apostle John said in one of his letters, he says, I have no greater joy than to see my children walking in the truth. Which, by the way, is what I want to talk about a little bit here today. I know some of you are saying, "Oh no, don't. Let's not bring up the topic of kids. You're talking about my nightmare or my struggles in life." But what we were looking at Psalm 127, and yesterday I wasn't able to finish it because it's really divided into two parts that can appear not to be connected, but in very fact they are. Because the first part, he talks about how that we're responsible to be workers. We've been created by God to be productive and to work with our hands and do things that produce a consequence. And so that's our responsibility. But he said the danger is we begin to think that that any increase we have is a result of what we have done. And it's almost like God says, I'm inviting you to be a partner. I use the illustration when my youngest son was 5 years old and he wanted to help me cut the lawn. He could barely grab the handle of the lawnmower. He was so small. But I let him get between my legs and grab it, and then we cut the lawn together. And it took me a lot longer to get done because he was there. But as soon as we finished, he ran into the house saying, Mommy, I just cut the grass. And I often thought about that's the way it is with me and God, that God lets me hang on to the bar and I'm dragging more than walking, but he nonetheless blesses that. And afterwards I go away with the joy of saying I actually did something for God when in fact it was the Lord. And that's kind of the even thing I believe about these kind of things, that as I'm sharing with you every day through your week, I realize that my words would just simply fall to the ground if it wasn't for the Spirit of God who animates certain things in our hearts and our minds. And so if you're getting things out of this, it's really because God is ministering to you, and far more than I am. And I know it ministered to me too, right? But one of the things that talk about the prophet Samuel, it said when he first started doing his ministry, it said the Lord didn't let any of his words fall to the ground. If you don't have the Spirit of God speaking to you and speaking through you, your words will fall to the ground. But if the words that God gives you to speak are His words, it defies gravity. And we used to have the saying when I was a kid, when somebody would say something mean to us, we say, I am rubber, you are glue, what bounces off of me sticks on you. And I would think about, God, let your words stick on people. Let it just stick there and let it accompany them through this day's journey. Well, anyway, as he talks about in the first part of the Psalm 127 about our responsibility as His servants, then he goes on to the second part of the psalm after having said, God can bless you even when you're asleep. God can give increase. God can do miracles even when you're asleep. And I make that part of my prayer, actually. When I pray a lot of times, I'm saying, Lord, today was a day in which I ran into a lot of roadblocks and obstacles. I didn't get the things that I thought I needed to get done. I didn't get done. Would you, while I'm sleeping, just move mountains and do miracles? And it's amazing how many times I'll get up the next day and find that problems that seemed impossible or impassable were suddenly resolved because God was moving even as I was sleeping. But when he talks about the great rewards, which is really what we get into, how do we produce, or what do we produce with our life? The thing that he notes is the greatest thing that we can produce is our families. And understanding we're living in a culture that's going the opposite direction. But consider what he says in the last three verses. He says, Behold, children are a gift of the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior, so are the children of one's youth. How blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be ashamed when they speak with their enemies in the gates. In other words, he said, your real blessing in life is to have your children and to have many of them, and even to see your own grandchildren. And I say this not to be hurtful, because I know some of you don't have kids and couldn't have kids, and you feel that sense of loneliness. And that's when you become like Paul or Peter, who begin to have spiritual kids. Paul had Timothy, Peter had Mark. In other words, they took younger people under their wing and mentored them and helped them to grow, just as a parent should often help to have a child grow. And I would just add to it that we have in our nation today, I mean, for first time, we have more people who are unmarried than we have people who are married. And that's because not only are people living together outside of the bonds of marriage, but there's many single parents. In fact, many of those who shack up with somebody end up without a husband, usually in the home, and they're raising their kids by themselves. So it's really a difficult thing, and we have a real opportunity, those of us who have raised our kids or who have never had kids, to really kind of take in some of these people, kind of adopt them, and to begin to mentor them and fill that gap that's in their life, because that's what's critical. But it's also, I think, for those who are younger and still in that childbearing era of their life, you can easily see the expense and the energy drain that kids are, especially when we have them home with us in the lockdown all the time. So many parents are say, please let school start. And I totally get it. But the fact of the matter is, they're a treasure, they're a gift, they're a reward that's given to you. And you may not see the reward as you're pouring yourself into them on a day-to-day basis, feeding them, cleaning them, watching over them, directing them, driving them from thing to thing and all the rest, helping them with homework that you don't even understand. It can be really overwhelming and very discouraging, and you can become kind of defeated. But let me just say to you, it will pay incredible rewards. The greatest joy of my wife and I's life at this point is our children and our grandchildren. And to see our children grow into men and women of faith, to see them training up their children in the way of the Lord, and seeing your grandkids really learning to love and to understand the Lord. Those things are just invaluable blessings in your life. And so don't get weary, parents. Keep on investing. Keep on pouring your life into those little lives. And for those of you who don't have that option, pray that God would direct you towards some people that you can really help and speak into their lives. Maybe you don't feel that burden. I don't want to put that on you if you don't feel that weight on your heart. But if you do, then I would encourage you to start asking God to direct and lead you. Get involved with children's ministry. Get involved with Awana. Get involved with youth ministry or whatever. And just kind of be that guy or gal who can make a difference in a younger person's life. So, heavy thoughts to carry into the weekend, but hey, why not? God bless you. Go in His wondrous grace.